From WFRV TV Local 5, your local election headquarters, this is Newsmaker Sunday with your host, Tom Zaleski.
Good morning. Welcome to Newsmaker Sunday. I'm Tom Zaleski. This week, we discuss senior care in Wisconsin. According to SeniorLiving.com, there are an estimated 47 million senior citizens living in these United States. In 2030, older Americans will make up 21% of the population. And by 2060, the U.S. Census Bureau estimates 1 in 4 Americans will be 65 and older. And this means more seniors are going to need care. Well, joining us today, Michelle Graf and Jena Kloepfel from the organization known as Care Patrol. It's a free service for families who need to find a senior living facility for their parents. Thank you both for joining us this morning. Much appreciated. Michelle, let me start with you. What does Care Patrol do?
So what we do is we actually help families to navigate the daunting task of finding safe and appropriate long-term care options. We review the state survey data and the history, the care history of every community that we refer to and work with, and we tour and advocate for seniors through that process, and we are a completely free service to the families.
So what, Jena, are the types of facilities for seniors that are out there? What are the different types that are available?
It ranges. I mean, you can start out with in-home care, but then if you need to go outside the home, then there would be different levels of assisted living as well as memory care, skilled nursing care if that is necessary.
Got to be a valuable service to the community, because I don't think too many people would know how to navigate this. This is not something that we face every day.
You're absolutely right, Tom. And what we end up having is we have people call us. Sometimes they're in a crisis. Something is going on. Maybe they're in the hospital and they can't return home. And they're in a crisis. And so we talk to them, and by the time we get off the phone, they breathe a sigh of relief, knowing that somebody's got their back and that we're going to help them through this process to get them into the right situation.
I know everyone thinks about this and they know they should have some sort of a plan for long-term care, but I guess oftentimes something will happen in your life, in your family, as you say. It'll be a sudden crisis where you're forced into making some decisions.
Yes, sometimes it's a crisis. I mean, and it's unavoidable. We all think that we're completely independent until we're not. So, and we have other families too that plan ahead. Sometimes families say, you know what, I want to have my plan B. So if being at home and on my own isn't the solution, what else is out there? And we're able to work with those families as well.
When, Jena, do we start thinking about senior care for a loved one?
The earlier the better. I mean, if you want to have more of a choice and more say, earlier the better. But if you start to notice any declines in your loved one, then approaching it at that time is going to be necessary.
And so if you do see that decline, if you think maybe we have to start doing something here, what's the first step to take in that journey?
Right. Well, we think it's really important to sit down and talk with your loved ones. So, if you're looking at your parents' situation or a friend or your partner and you're noticing some changes, it's important to sit down and make sure that you're clear on what their wishes are. Make sure that you have paperwork in place, your power of attorney is in your advance directive, so the family really understands what your wishes are. And that's the most important thing to do. And then if you need guidance through that, you can always call a certified senior advisor like Jena or I to help move through that process.
What's the best way to start that conversation, though? It's got to be tough to all of a sudden face your parent and tell them essentially something's wrong.
Right.
Sometimes just reaching out to us before talking to your parents can be helpful. We can give some resources and tips depending on their personalities on how to start that conversation.
What would one expect to be the response? What's normal?
Right. So what you want the response from the senior?
From your elder parent when you approach them
right.
with...
The important thing is you want to be really open with them. You want to be honest about why you're doing this. It's to improve their choices, and you're doing it to support them. You don't want to blindside somebody. You want to let them know, hey, I want to talk to you ahead of time so that they can think about it and think it through themselves as well. That will improve the chances of it being a positive interaction rather than just being told, you know, I'm not ready to talk about this. And if you're a senior yourself, talk to your kids. A lot of times you'll find that your own kids will say, oh, I don't want to talk about this. This is never going to happen. But so sometimes for the senior to take on the conversation with their own children can really be impactful.
I hear you about the kids not wanting to talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yes. Recently, I got my will done.
Oh, good for you.
And I told my son, you know, I have the will. Here's where it is. Don't want to hear it, Dad.
Oh,
Yeah,
see,
don't
you've
wanna
got
know
to
where it
force the
is.
issue with him. Yes.
Right, exactly. So I can understand that. What are some of the things that need to be brought up in that conversation?
Well, making sure that you understand the advance directive wishes. So end-of-life wishes, plans, how you want your life to end. I mean, that's a really important part of that conversation. And not just have it on paper, but so that the person that's your power of attorney really understands what you mean.
Mm-hmm. So Jenna, a good thing to do here is to get organized ahead of time, I take it.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm. Organization and having those conversations frequently. I mean, even on a yearly basis, so everything is structured. You know, if I were to fall and I'm unconscious, this is what I would want. If I can't live in my house anymore, this is what I would want. And having everything step by step, you know, in a binder, having that will, the power of attorney, so their wishes are carried out not only for their medical, but for their financial plan, because they worked hard to get everything that they have, and I'm sure they want it to be managed well.
Yeah, pre-planning. We continue our conversation right after this, so please stay with us.